Welcome to our channel Hashmi Clinics.
All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're doing a clinical deep dive into Agnus Castus. Now, this is a remedy that paints such a vivid picture of collapse and debility, and it's absolutely one of the most crucial remedies in our materia medica for those states of profound vital exhaustion. So here's how we're going to build our understanding of this remedy, piece by piece. We'll kick things off by really defining that core archetype. Then we'll dive straight into its signature mental state and the collapse in the sexual sphere. From there, we'll map out how this affects the rest of the body, pinpoint the key triggers, and then, to wrap it all up, we'll put it into a practical clinical context with some really important remedy comparisons. You know, if there is one single line from our materia medica that just completely unlocks the entire state of Agnus Castus, this is it. This phrase says it all. It's the central keynote. A person, often someone who should be in their prime, who has become old before their time because their vital force is just spent. So let's start right there with the remedy's foundational archetype, what our old texts call the old sinner. Really getting a handle on this core constitutional disturbance is the key, because honestly, every single symptom we're about to discuss flows directly from this state. The core theme here is just profound exhaustion. The old sinners our texts talk about are these individuals who have, for lack of a better word, squandered their vital energy. When you see them in the clinic, you'll notice this jaded, anemic, completely worn-out expression, a kind of debility that just seems way beyond their years. And let's be clear, this isn't just simple aging, this is a complete and utter constitutional breakdown. So, as you'd expect, this physical collapse has a direct and, frankly, devastating parallel in the mental sphere. The mind of the Agnus patient just becomes this landscape of apathy, deep sadness, and real cognitive decline. What truly defines the Agnus mental state is this really unique combination of cognitive decline alongside a deep, settled despair. I mean, look at this. You've got the melancholy and the apathy for sure, but then there's this profound cognitive fog. They're absent-minded, they can't remember things, and of course, there's that famous keynote, having to read a sentence twice just to get what it means. And all of this is layered with this heavy, heavy self-contempt and remorse for a life they feel they've completely wasted.
And this right here is such a crucial distinction to make. This fear of death, it's not the acute, panicked, wide-eyed terror you see in aconite. No. This is a calm conviction. It's a total despair of ever recovering that becomes a fixed idea. The patient will just state it like it's a fact. I will soon die. This resigned hopelessness is an incredibly powerful keynote for the remedy.
Okay, now we're arriving at the absolute center of gravity for Agnus. This is the epicenter, the complete and total annihilation of sexual function. This is where the remedy's action is most pronounced, and it's where we find our most reliable, rock-solid indications. And this slide just illustrates the parallel collapse in both sexes so brilliantly. For the male, we see total impotence. The parts are cold, shrunken, flaccid. Desire, completely gone. In the female, there's a corresponding abhorrence of coition. There's sterility and a failure of lactation, all of it accompanied by that characteristic deep sadness. And take a look at that peculiar leucorrhea. It's transparent, but it still stains the linen yellow, and it passes imperceptibly from the relaxed parts. This profound sexual debility, well, that's the remedy's signature. Now that we've firmly established that core mental and sexual collapse, let's trace how this state of decay just ripples out through the rest of the body. Because this theme of relaxation, it's truly systemic. You can almost see the pattern of decline, can't you? First, there's a fundamental lack of vital heat. The spleen, which is such a key organ in these lymphatic constitutions, it becomes swollen and hard. The digestive system shows that profound relaxation, that sensation of the intestines sinking, which the patient constantly wants to support with their hands. And of course, that classic keynote of soft stool being difficult to pass, sometimes even receding. And finally, the musculoskeletal system is weak. Sprains happen all the time, and you can even see gouty nodes forming on the joints. Of course, as homeopaths, we know it's often the peculiar symptoms that give us that final confirmation. For Agnus, the illusion of smelling herring or musk is highly, highly characteristic. You also want to look for a gnawing, corrosive itching that scratching only relieves for a moment. The pupils are often dilated, which really reflects that nervous debility. And here's a fantastic clinical pearl for you. Tachycardia in neurotic young men that is specifically triggered by smoking tobacco. Okay, so understanding what brings on this state and what makes the symptoms better or worse, this is absolutely crucial. This is our clinical blueprint for prescribing Agnus Castus effectively. The etiology, the cause, is almost always rooted in a history that has just completely exhausted the patient's vital force. Sexual excesses, a history of repeated gonorrhea, or even physical overexertion like sprains from lifting something too heavy. Any of these can be the starting point for the Agnus state of collapse. And this table here, well, it gives us the clear operating instructions for the remedy. Symptoms are predictably worse from any sexual activity, from motion, from touch, and from warmth. And we see some relief from pressure, from rest, from being in the open air, and that interesting temporary relief from scratching that itch. These modalities really help us to fine-tune our prescription. All right, let's move on to the practical application. It's time to place Agnus in context by comparing it to its closest similars. Because accurate differentiation, well, that is the key to successfully prescribing in these complex cases of debility. This comparison chart is just brilliant for highlighting the fine distinctions. So look at caladium. It has strong desire, but no ability. That's a key difference from Agnus, where desire is completely gone. Selenium has weakness of function, but desire is still there. It's just weak. And then you have phosphoric acid, where the collapse is more often from grief or an acute loss, leading to this quiet, profound apathy, not the despairing self-contempt of Agnus. That relationship between the mental state, desire, and physical function, that's your guide. So let's lock in these key takeaways. These are your prescribing pearls. First, always think of that old sinner archetype. Second, never forget the postpartum picture when the milk fails to appear or is suppressed in a woman who is just profoundly sad and despairing. Third, listen for that strange confirmatory scent of herring or musk. And finally, remember that in cases of impotence, caladium and selenium often follow beautifully after Agnus has done its initial work. And this really is the central question that Agnus Castus asks us to consider. It pushes us to look beyond just the presenting symptoms to really investigate the deep etiology of collapse in our most challenging cases. It's a reminder to always ask about the patient's history, because sometimes the key to fixing the present lies in understanding the exhaustion of the past.
Professor Dr. Rafat Hashmi is a distinguished homeopathic physician, educator, and researcher with over 4 decades of clinical and teaching experience. He is widely respected for his deep command of materia medica, repertory, and constitutional prescribing, combined with a practical, patient-centered approach. Dr. Hashmi has dedicated his career to training generations of homeopathic doctors, blending classical principles with modern clinical insight. He is also known for his innovative work in digital homeopathy, developing educational content, clinical tools, and AI-assisted systems to enhance remedy selection and case analysis. With a strong commitment to ethical practice and lifelong learning, Professor Dr. Rafat Hashmi continues to guide, inspire, and elevate the standards of homeopathic education and patient care.